Yeah, that's a nice positive riff. Jeff Berlin, Dan Shinder here. That's Jeff. I'm Dan. We got the names there to help not you out, but to help us out so we know who we are. We came close to having to wear name tags at some point. Jeff, how are you? Happy January, man.
Happy January. I had a really interesting month. My wife went to Argentina. She's Argentinian, and I was home for about a month on my own. And musically, I took full advantage of it. I've been practicing every day, but in that month of around Christmas and afterward, before she came back, I was in the room practicing and practicing and practicing. And I'm enthused. You know, I'm 73 now. I just turned 73.
I know you just had a birthday.
I surely did. And I find I'm more enthused about music than I've ever been. It's an interesting thing.
That is so cool. Yeah, so a funny thing. I'm glad you brought this up. Just quick little side convo, folks, before Jeff and I dive into our featured bass and drums duos. I always think like, okay, a lot of my favorite artists, you being one of them, you're 73, Jimmy Page in his 80s, right? Steve Howe, it goes on and on. The guys from Genesis, yes, Jethro Tull, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, on and on, 70s, 80s. And it's funny to me that they're playing the music that they played in their 20s, that people that at the age they're of now were like, not gonna do it, wouldn't be prudent, you know, and now they're that age. And it's so interesting how generations evolve culturally, sociologically, musically, and here we are. Like, I can't believe in just a few weeks I'll be 63. Don't know how that happened. I remember when Ian Gillan, the singer of Deep Purple, turned 44, and I thought, my God, this guy's like farting dirt. He's ancient. And then I read an article of him saying all their ages in the band, and John Lord is like 80, and John Lord was probably like 50 at the time. And those ages seem so old. And it's like now Enge's youngest is, or oldest, is going to be 51 this year. It's like, how does this happen? So from a musical perspective, you mentioned that you're more enthused than you've ever been.
Oh, yeah.
Do you view the music that you play now and the music you played in your 20s and 30s, like working with Bill Bruford, is it just as acceptable at this age, or has your taste changed dramatically through these different decades along the way?
It's changed dramatically. You know, I had that thumb surgery.
Right.
Where when I was younger, I was one of the guys that supposedly had a lot of facility. And when that went away, that kind of ability to play physically fast and articulate notes, I'm a real make lemonade out of lemons kind of guy. And I changed my approach. I changed even the music that I'm writing and playing. And it's harmonically deeper, richer. My jazz playing is deeper, more toward a pianist or a horn player. Not quite like it because I physically can't duplicate them. But in the nutshell, everything changed in me in regards to bass. Quick thing, and then we'll go on with the show. One little tenet of philosophy that I had all through my life was to do this. When something became popular, I went away from it, and I did it as a plan.
Me too, in some ways.
You did that too.
I did.
It's an interesting thing because, like, when, you know, I imitated Jaco Pastorius because we never heard anything like that before. But then it became clear to me that I had to not do that. So I did play fretless for a minute out of absolute admiration. Then realized that if I want to do something for me, I got to put the frets back on. So I did. Then I think tweeters became popular. I got amps without tweeters. Active basses became popular. I got amps that were basses that weren't active. Certain styles, slap, which actually I'm one of the guys that started it. Sorry, but it's true. When afterward it became a thing, I didn't slap. People are tapping, I won't tap for 99.999%. And now people are playing with such remarkable facility that, again, I found a whole new niche completely for me because I won't go there. And
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we can think of other musicians, and I want to say, and I may be wrong, I've been wrong a couple times. I want to say there's not a lot of people like how I'm going to point this out, but when you listen to Bill Bruford's drum sounds and the way he plays, I can't think of anyone that has ever been like, oh my God, that guy sounds just like Bill Bruford. Like, how many players can you listen to and go, John Bonham, that's got to be an influence, or Ian Pace, or Buddy Rich, right? Steve Howe on guitar. Tony Iommi of Black Sabbath. You know, he had the tips of two of his fingers cut off, so he built these wax tips. Then he got metal tips, totally different guitar sound. Right. Brian May of Queen. No one has that guitar sound.
It's the best guitar sound in history, Brian May's.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
With his own homemade guitars. His first guitar, his dad made him out of a door.
Yeah.
You should have left the knob on there as the volume knob.
You know, this shows you that innovation is entering into something that people would see as silly. Consider it. You made a guitar out of a door. So what's a door made of? Wood. What's a guitar made of? Wood. So ironically, what he and his father concocted wasn't really that strange. My favorite wood for bass is alder. It's tabletop wood, but it's the wood that I find the best resonant wood for even in an electric pickup situation. So yeah, Brian has, I would say, maybe the #1 greatest guitar tone I've ever heard. And I almost had him playing on the Jack Songs record, but then he opted out. That low down, dirty English guitar playing Queen member guy, he didn't do it. And that was so
well, David Gilmour is another one, I think.
Who?
David Gilmour of Pink Floyd. Yeah. Now, so here's a question. If an evil woman who casts spells weighs the same as a guitar made out of a door, that means she's made of wood and therefore she must be a witch, right? Isn't that how it goes? Something like that?
If this is your logic, I'll acquiesce.
Monty Python fans will know exactly what that means.
Oh, I don't know what that means.
That's okay. Jeff, what's your feature for our bass and drums duo, episode 12? Wow, how'd that happen?
Because we're at it. Oh, you know what? Getting older, I'm not scared of it. I'm not worried about it. At least at this point, because I'm in good health, I'm not afraid to die. I mean, quick one, the body kind of gets to a point sometimes, a healthy body, where suddenly the body intelligently says that's enough. And cells begin to die. There is an intelligence in the death process. And because it is sort of a provable and predictable event, for some reason it holds no fear for me. I don't know why.
That's good.
There you go.
Good. We should not live in fear.
I don't
cool
know.
I got your video queued up. You want to give it an introduction? And I haven't watched it yet. I have no idea what's going on here.
Well, I mentioned Jaco Pastorius, and one of quite a few number of Jaco's attributes was one is tone, which actually came because he played out of 18-inch speakers, which is something nobody else did. That created a different approach to sound than any other bass player. He played a passive bass. That's another approach that many bass players didn't do. He played the back pickup. He turned the neck pickup off and only played the bridge pickup. He played over the bridge pickup, and of course he went fretless. So when you put these little accoutrement of change, and have a musical vision. So what you're going to hear is Jaco sounding like Jaco, playing lines. Jaco had developed a vocabulary, and for the remainder of his musical life, he relied on it. And here's a great demonstration of him and Kenwood Denard, who is one of my favorite drummers.
Oh, nice.
And Mike Stern is in this. They played in Finland, and they played a song attributed to Jaco, but it was written by Pee Wee Ellis, who I played with.
Yeah.
This is the chicken, but you got to listen to the tightness of the bass and the drums. And notice that the tightness comes from an agreement of time.
Agreement of time. Here we go. The chicken. how young they were. Wow.
I think this was several years before he.
83, it said. Yeah.
Yeah, this
Wow.
is.
The year I turned 20, and they didn't look much older than that.
Well, they're young men. They were young men.
Yeah.
They were young men. But
Yeah.
if you know that Jaco sound, that's the 18-inch speakers because
Yeah.
they
And
DI.
explain passive versus active for people who don't know, the electronics of guitars and bass.
Oh, that's a good question. Passive basses simply means that the pickup itself, by the magnet and its windings, reproduces the vibrations of the string. An active bass has a part that actually stimulates a certain frequency and requires a battery in order to power that. Usually it's high end,
Mhm.
which is not a sound I like. I've never liked the sound of active basses because it always sounded a bit artificial. But this is me. So Jaco's thing was one. If you look, I think that there's mics, or they're miking the 18s. I'm sure they are mixing a DI feed, direct input, and but the time, I mean, he found these lovely, amazing lines and made a career on them.
Yeah.
The issue with bass players is that they probably shouldn't go there, and that's a hard thing for a lot of guys to do. But that's my contribution to educational pursuit. But Don Alias is there, who I knew. We were going to play.
Yeah.
Don has the same quarter note that Jaco does. Mike Stern's rhythm has the same quarter note. The horns, time is an agreed thing, something I always tap on with you. So,
Yeah.
and Kenwood's drums. If people agree with time, you're going to sound like this. Just might be wise not to do that.
Yeah, they're all totally locked in. As is this next band. I have two short videos. One is 19 seconds long. I discovered this band a little while ago when they had a previous drummer whose name was Calvin Davidson, and he left to pursue other things, and it was an amicable division. And now they have Heath Campbell on drums, who's featured in these videos, and Oliver Sentance on bass, and Harry Valentino is going to be there featured on guitar. And I love this band. There's a lot of fun stuff happening, but with all the, I'll call it busyness, they're still so locked in and so on time. Nowhere does it seem to spin off the tornado, if you will.
Yeah.
It's a very formed cone of very fast wind. And I just love these guys. Their name is High Fade. And let's go with this first 19-second clip. It's just fun stuff, and they're all right there, but yet it doesn't sound quantized or mechanical or anything. You still feel that human feel. This next one features more of the whole band. Check it out. I love this 33 seconds of High Fade. They're just grooving and no one's in anyone's way. I just love that.
Yes.
It's great to see young musicians cranking out relatively their own sound, a fresh take on things. I just love it. And they're having fun. That's why we all start to play music, I hope. When I see curmudgeons gripe about this gig or it's just different things in music, it's like, just remember why we started. Why did we pick up an instrument? More importantly, why did we continue to play that instrument? Hopefully because it's fun. Again, I'm going to be 63 in a few weeks. I have more fun playing now than I ever did. I play with other people. I'm playing a gig tomorrow here in the middle of nowhere where we're based in Globe, Arizona. And it's a thing I do once in a while where, Jeff, it's a different lineup every time. It's never all the same players. And the nucleus is the bass player. It's called Instagon. And some of the players, this will be my 21st time, I think. And it'll be his 33rd year anniversary. It's over 850 times he's done this with a different assortment of players. And tomorrow we have me on drums. I'm sorry, Saturday, me on drums, him on bass, a guy named Ruben Rooster Sanchez on guitar, another guitar player I'm not aware of, and a keyboard player that sat in on a gig we did in Tucson about 3 weeks ago. And it's like 80%, 85% improvisation. Actually, it's 100% improvisation for those who haven't played with him before. For me, it's about 85 because I recognize certain frameworks he'll introduce, or he'll say, hey, do that thing, start this next thing with that thing that you do. And then it's like a mix of acid jazz, psychedelic, funk, and rock, and just it has zero boundaries. And it's so much fun to just not that there's anything wrong with learning songs, everybody, but it's so much fun to not have, oh, got to study for those songs, to just show up with some shit and just play. It's so much fun, you know, and every time's a different time. And he makes a recording of everywhere. It's a blast, man. I love it. And at my point in life, I'm not chasing any rainbows to get a record deal or anything, you know. I'm the Drum Talk TV guy, and I have my studio. I go play with my favorite music. I sometimes have other musicians come, and it's, again, always remember, if you're a musician out there, why did you start? Why did you continue? Hopefully because it's fun. Keep it fun, for goodness sakes. But these guys, that's my point. These guys look like they're having fun, and it's fun sounding music to me.
Yeah, I noticed something from the drummer. He does that hi-hat.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lick. It's a good lick. It's a dependable lick, because remember the first click you played, the fast one?
Yeah.
He used that lick, but turned it right up.
Yeah.
So there is, and Jaco did the boom, bop, 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 bop. So there is a lot of support for developing a lick or licks and depending on them in different situations.
Mm-hmm.
Two realities of this is, you will establish your playing based on a little vocabulary that is well rehearsed. The second thing might be that if one pursues learning, then one has to do new things. And I always sort of go back to learning. I think, maybe viewers know this. And the reason that I feel it's necessary is because people don't talk about it. They did when I was younger. We took private lessons. We took my teachers were pianists. The late Richie Byrack was my teacher, Madame Charloff. I had some wonderful, besides Charlie Benakis and the different ways he taught me. But learning music is not a popular ethic. And yet the internet is rife with methods and teachers and do this and this is the way. And it's become an industry. But I'll say that if you establish licks and depend on them and get them part of your repertoire and your vocabulary of playing, people can trust that these will always come to the fore. But people, if you're interested in learning, it'll get you to do more things, because one of the most one of the largest amount of regret emails I get or posts is, hey, Jeff, I'm 60 and 70. Gee, I wish I listened to you when I was 20 or 50 or 40, because those years went by, like we were just talking about earlier.
Right. Guys
stayed here for 20, 30 years. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is a reality. And a lot of guys say, man, I don't do anything new. I don't know how to. So learning.
It's interesting. Yeah, I like that. Learning doesn't, that should go on a meme. Learning doesn't mean you have to do something new or reinvent yourself.
You don't have to reinvent yourself. No.
Right. And playing, like yesterday we had Ricky Rocket on from Poison and Rocket Mafia, and he explained that before Poison, he played in these top 40 bands and played everything, and it gave him the tools in his toolboxes, he and I both like to say, to have a musical vocabulary to be able to show up for so many different types of sessions and gigs because they were, like you mentioned, dependable, they were learned, they were repeated. And the more you repeat something and know that it's dependable, you can reach for that. Oh, this thing will fit here. Let me do that.
Right.
And it's not an experiment. You know it'll work, So that's another way of learning as opposed to learning that everything's new all the time and you got to chase that. You have to form your you as a musician, I believe. And it doesn't mean that you can't grow from there. Even if you do the same thing forever, it doesn't mean you can't grow within that, I think.
It's a fair point. Playing is different than learning. So in playing, one has the opportunity to perform and possibly alter or add to or try this. The bands. Actually, interesting. The bands that you played, some of the fusion bands or the fusion rock bands over the last few episodes,
Yeah.
who played in other time signatures and did certain downbeats and upbeats with the band.
Yeah.
That kind of playing only comes when people are rehearsed. So most people who, let's say, are not in a band really don't have to deal with this, the possibility of odd and altered music. Essentially, 4/4 is the time signature of the day. Next song. See, I'm playing your instrument. I should be playing mine.
No, it's okay.
But 4/4 is essentially it. The bands that do all these sort of interesting elements are rehearsed groups. Let's hang out. Let's play a thing. I got interested in Crosby, Stills, Nash because I listened to Judy Blue Eyes the other day and Woodstock, the Joni Mitchell tune on that very old 1971 record by Crosby, Stills, and Nash because their vocals are perfect. Their harmonies are perfect. And I was curious, how did they do it? And I read, I went to AI. They said, they went in a room and they said, I'll go la, and you go la, and you go la. And they just worked it out. Groups work things out to become remarkable statements. But if one wants to play and wants to improve, you can do a lot in your home, which is what I think is best.
Absolutely.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah. Thanks, folks. Let me see if there's comments. Open another thing. JJ Jack says, I am deaf, need text message on screen. When this archives, or actually, he's deaf though. So how Steve, maybe you could put this in the chat if it's convenient. When this archives and they play it back, there should be closed captions. Yeah, I don't think there's a closed caption feature for live, but we'll look into that. Thank you, Jack. Steve, anything to that effect? Mark White says, if you're deaf, what value could this possibly have to you? I think it depends on the level of deafness. Last year, Steve will correct me and say, that was 3 years ago, but I think it was last year I had Evelyn Glennie on, who's a British amazing percussionist, and she's deaf and has incredible time. She feels the time through her bare feet on the floor, playing the most amazing percussion instruments from xylophones to timpani drums to so many different things. And she can talk and doesn't sound like a person who's deaf that talks. Sometimes you can tell. And I think that's from practice. And there's different levels of deafness, just like blindness. So hopefully they're getting something out of this. And maybe they're used to seeing the closed captions, and that's how they get something out of it. Paul Wrights is here saying, first time tuning into this program. Very interesting. Thanks, Paul. He's an avid player of our music trivia game shows. He's actually co-hosted a couple shows with me that he won. You can win that, folks. You can co-host a Drum Talk TV show by winning one of our game shows. And Paul says, remember Jeff from 1980 Bruford tour. Wow. So Jeff, you must have been, don't tell me, you were, if I was 17, you were 27, right?
I was 27.
Wow.
And gosh,
Yeah,
I
that's
see.
awesome, Paul. Hopefully you liked it. He just says he remembers it. He doesn't say whether or not he liked it.
I can live with either.
That's cool. Thanks, Paul, for tuning
Thanks,
in.
Paul.
Yeah, and feel free to share this with your fellow musos and music fans, and we'll be back again next month. And I've already got mine picked out for next month. I was texting with Steven earlier today, and I don't know, something when I was talking about High Fade, I realized, oh, why haven't I had? It's a surprise. You'll love them though. They're really, really good.
Okay.
Yeah, another trio, in fact, another instrumental trio. Now that I think of it, you know what? I'll just give it away. I'm going to feature the Kinky Wizards from Wales. The brothers, the drummer and the bass player are brothers, and they got a great guitar player. They do some great stuff. They did a live stream concert from Drum Talk TV for Drum Talk TV's memberships, and they're a lot of fun, and their music reflects that. And I'm going to show maybe a couple short clips of them from this concert they did online in a soundstage during COVID, which was a smart thing to do. And they created some really, really wonderful content. But their music, to describe them, Jeff, it's like one song sounds like traditional jazz, one song sounds like reggae, one song sounds like Steve Vai, one song sounds like Rush. I mean, they're all over the place, yet they sound like them, if you know what I mean.
I do.
You know, and a lot of the great bands are like that. Yes, Led Zeppelin, Return to Forever. I mean, we can go on and on and on.
Sure, absolutely. I made up a joke years ago about naming a group, and it pertains to two Jewish guys that talk, and one says, "So what's the name of your band?" He goes, "Don't ask." He says, "Why can't I ask?" I said, "You can ask." He says, "Great. What's the name of your band?" "Don't ask."
That's funny. My friend was in a band that played a lot of stuff like Tower of Power and whatnot. He was the drummer. Called, I think they might still be together. This is 25 years ago, 30 years ago, called Enough Said.
Enough said.
Yeah. And I think it's spelled E''NUFF said. Yeah. Shout out to Keith Capsuto on drums in Ventura, California. There we go. All right. Thanks, everybody, so much for tuning in. Jeff and I will be back next month on the... I don't know if we have a date, do we? Yes, we do, on the 18th, February 18th at the same time, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern U.S. times, 8 p.m. UK time. Tune in, chime in. It's your show, too. And we'll see you then. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jeff.